anything for the yeah, but they already got their. They just did.
Yeah.
And those things, there's lots from last time, it's scary if it's had for a team. Out of the office, in the building, it's all offices and. That's another interesting thing, you have all and they're working hours that basically collecting,
Can't put RV on these days.
I'm not sure if it's one. It's either one or four.
Just probably getting ready, getting ready to go to this. Every year.
Oh, sorry, Billy.
Support. Okay. Shifting right now. That I'm just switch engineers right now. I'm like, okay, then I was trying to get it all. We all do it. Something shift, So she wanted to 4 hours. Systems, thinking Mexico. 4 hours for each day, I worked for a nonprofit, and we got a,
Yeah, let me get Billy.
it was 2 hours. I can. And I did a.
The old joke, how many astronomers does it take to?
Yeah. Hey, there's a joke in there somewhere, right?
Years, I think.
What is
I'm
it?
trying to be honest. You think it's usually one?
Yeah, so I've actually been able to unplug one and just plug hard into one of these. But if Billy wants to show me officially how to do it, then that's fine too. I'm gonna use this moment to.
This is your. Are you probably long?
Yeah, so it's here. It's plugged into here, but then so
Where's the projector?
so I plugged into this
That's
one.
what it is. It's like, yeah.
There's a part of it. This one is going to here.
Right now, they got the.
Yeah, so well, this is the input for this. So that's the splitter.
I'm gonna do Billy a big favor. Come here a little late.
Yeah.
Labeler.
There's probably 150.
How's it going?
Good. How are you? Or HDMI 3?
HDMI 3. I was close. I was on 2.
And I think that's input B actually.
Where's the input? Oh, oh, here, we're doing something.
Comes better than nothing.
Oh, I took really much today. Oh, I took really much. Everything I called, always in.
Wait for it.
It's like, that makes sense.
Oh, it's saying something. Oh, that's not what it is. Let's do this, see what happens there. Oh, yeah, right there.
Standard.
Somehow it defaulted to PC screen.
Well, here's a.
There we go.
Hey.
All right.
Cool. Thank you, Billy.
All right. Downloading Theo's slides real quick, and then we'll.
Not arches, that was the gate.
Yeah.
Being just. The arches and Big South Fork.
So they were like trying to, they put their window, and their friends.
There's been good stuff for some
Yeah.
coherent, mining.
Yeah.
Railway.
Yeah.
Way back, yeah. And
Rugby,
Yeah, rugby's kind of
given up.
And the big stuff, we have two arches there and it's only like maybe 2 miles. Walk and it's a little bit of ups and downs.
Yeah, if you.
Kind of fun.
I mean, he was still a bit wrecked from the ACL, that was,
Soccer.
I mean, that was a year ago, 2 days ago, so it's, I tore it, but, I can probably still hike it, I just not sure it's off right now, but.
There we go.
Now I'm telling, I want to get to where I can.
So.
I've seen talks on the map.
I never heard that before.
No, the con, if we go on Elm, we.
that.
What's? Allen K was okay, but it's after that, it starts to get really steep, and I forget, there's a.
Yeah.
So likely that.
Let me.
Yeah.
That sounds like what I talk about.
What it is, I had a really steep reverse.
Unfortunately, with my neighbor seems to be.
Where is it?
All right, can you guys hear me and see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Perfect. All right. All right, and you can see me now, probably. Sorry about that. All right. All right. Welcome everybody to the April board meeting for BSAS. I'm Tom Beckerman, the current president. Yeah, it's happy to see everybody here. Looks like we may get some decent skies tonight. So I think I heard them opening up the observatory up there. So maybe after we're all said and done, we'll get a chance to go up there and take a peek through there. We do this once a month. And so this is where I'll go through and talk about some of our business that we got going on, some of our outreach and things going on in the sky. And then our speaker, Theo Wellington, will be here hopefully pretty soon. First off, any new members or visitors today? Gotcha. Well, welcome. Thanks for bringing people along. Welcome. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out and chat with us. So last month's meeting, we were talking about the Messier Marathon, and I felt it appropriate to bring up Mr. Messier again because we got rained out again. And April, there's still possibilities for a Messier Marathon to complete, but it gets a little bit harder the further in the year you go. However, Mr. Messier was not happy with this situation. That being said, we can still try it this month if you're interested. On April 19th, we'll be down. We have a public star party down at War Trace, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But if you're interested in going through and doing trying to get some of those marathon items out of the way, the 19th is a pretty good time to do that. All right. So go ahead and getting started. We'll bring everything to order. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look through the eclipse and the minutes from, I think I saw it was February and March for the last 2 months for the minutes for the board meeting, as well as member minutes. Does anybody have any questions with the ongoings of the club? Excellent. Didn't think so. As far as members, I know Keith said he's running late, but he messaged me. We're at 235 members, so we're up a few from last time. Theo is also on her way. Let's see. I have numbers here. We currently have a total bank balance of $9,074.74, which is essentially $38.75 in savings and $51.99 in checking. Expenses, we paid for the Zoom account. We also put money towards new brochures and business cards, which are in. We have a little bit in PayPal, $387.96, which I'm sure will get transferred over eventually. Facebook, liked by 2.4 thousand, followed by 2.400. So 2,400, followed by 2,700 and X, we have 324 followers, but we're kind of holding steady there. All right, and so Theo's our treasurer, so that's coming from her. She's the one that'll be talking tonight, hopefully. Moving on, let's see. Just to get this out of the way, next member meeting is May 21st, 2025. So it's third Wednesday of every month, unless something special is going on. We'll meet here in person, unless we have a weird freak snowstorm in May. Who knows? We'll always be, well, as long as I remember to hit the buttons, we'll be on Zoom and YouTube. Zoom for members, YouTube for the public. And as always, if you have any recommendations for star parties or speaker recommendations, we'd be happy to hear you. We've had a few star party recommendations coming in terms of places to look at for potential future star parties, and so we're working on those. So we're always excited to see other parts of Sky and different parts of the area. Special thanks to our board members. Keep everything going and floating. We meet once a month, the first Wednesday of the month. And so this is where we get together and try and figure out the direction of the club and when to meet and things like that. So special thanks to everybody on the board. All right. For those new here and or visiting, this is how you can find us. We're at bsasnashville.com. Again, a while back, I built this awesome QR code. So if you're bored, hit that. And there's a lot of cool things on here. This was as of, I think, 2 o'clock today where I took this screenshot. On here, there's a few things. See, we have our next public star party listed. Pretty sure that says War Trace on it. Our next member meeting, which is currently happening, and then there's some information on public star parties and what a star party is. And then also on there, we've had this on there for a while, but if you're a Hat Show print collector, we had that specially made for our 90th anniversary for the club. So it's a pretty cool one. Theo, who will be here eventually, has those for sale. It's 20 in person or 25 if you'd like it mailed to you. And if you click that link there, it'll take you to a PayPal where you can just buy it on PayPal. Pretty nice. One of the other things on the map I always like to show, or on the website I always like to show, is this clear sky chart. The darker, the better. So this is today, and maybe some cloud cover coming in a little bit later. Oh, yeah, a little bit later today, but we're good up until maybe 8 o'clock. Who knows what that'll look like. But tomorrow night, it's pretty dark. Friday, and then of course on the weekend we always get clouds because that's the best time to look. So the website has a lot of really cool things on there. Some of the other things on here, if you're interested in becoming a member, we have a little link right there. You can zoom in on. If you click on that, become a member, it'll pull up this information where they'll talk to you about what the membership brings. We have a newsletter. We have discounted subscription to Astronomy or Sky and Telescope if you're interested in getting magazines. I believe they're also doing digital now, so you don't always have to have the paper. Membership in the Astronomical League, and they have their own publication they put out called The Reflector, and it's got a lot of really good information in it. You'll get a vote in BSAS elections, which we hold usually about once a year. And we also have access to private star parties, which is where it's pretty much members only. We get a little bit access to a little bit darker skies where we get to go and bring our toys out and play. If you're interested for joining, we ask that you make a membership in the Night Sky Network, which I'll bring up in a little bit. The cost isn't very much. This is per year. And so currently dues are individual for 25, family for 35, student for 15, and a senior family is 20. So for a year, a lot of good perks for that. So if you're interested in becoming a member, get a hold of us. One of the other things with becoming a member is we have the loaner program. So we're, always looking at our equipment and we're actively updating it now, going through and making sure that things are clean and available for use. We have equipment available for loan. This is just included with the membership. you're interested in borrowing a scope, seeing what you like, what you wouldn't like, um, you know, definitely reach out. There's on our Google group, there's a list of all of our scopes that we have available, with a little button that you can click and it'll email us and say, I want to borrow this. And we can see if we can get it to you. It's a really good way to figure out what you would use, because as always, the best scope is the one you use. And if you want to carry around a 10-inch Dob or an 8-inch Dob, which is what this is, make sure you can fit it in your car and things like that, because I think that would struggle in my wife's CRV. So it's good to kind of know what you'd want to do. Also, some of these are bulky to carry around. And so if you're planning on hanging out at your house, Dob's not too bad. But if you're wanting to pick up and go down the Natchez Trace, you have to load it up and unload it every night. So if you have a scope, let us know if you're still using it. Let us know if there's anything we can help with. If there's anything you have questions about, collimation doesn't seem right, and you're looking at something that's absolutely horrible, it may be the scope. It may just be you're looking at something gray and fuzzy, which is what we usually see out of scopes. But we can help out with anything. So again, get in touch with us. This list is on Google Group. This is a link to the list itself through my Google Sheets that I have. So if you're interested, click on that. All right. A couple other things here. We have highlighted the Eclipse, and the Eclipse is our monthly newsletter. I just updated this from today. Here you can see these are the hot links. So if you wanted to look at last month's or this month that just came out, a lot of good information in there. And I'm still amazed that this is still there, that we have PDFs all the way back to 2001. So again, looking at the history of things, it's always kind of amazing. All right, moving right along. Our socials, this is where you can communicate with us and get some information on some of the upcoming things. Let's see. On Facebook, as I mentioned, we just hit the 2.7K followers. We were at 2.6 for a little bit. And so I got to change that today. We still like by 2.4. I don't know what's wrong with those other 300 followers. They chose not to like us, but whatever. Yeah, I love you guys. This is our website here, QR code if you wanted to find us. You can find stuff on there. This was last Saturday at the out at Bell's Bend. There's a rec fest that they have every year. And Theo usually goes out there. I don't know who else went out there, if Chuck went out there or not. But those two are usually staying with it pretty well. And they bring out scopes, and obviously you can see it's daylight, so there was some solar viewing there. Hopefully there's a nice filter on the end of that, or else that picture probably wouldn't go as well as we'd hope. But you could get information on that. There's also information on star parties if we cancel a star party, or if there's a ISS passover that's I guess easy to see, not necessarily in the middle of the morning, kind of things like that. So Facebook is where we get a lot of our information out to the public. Instagram, we host some images on here. If you're interested in being having your pictures up on Instagram, feel free to let us know, or just share it on the Google groups, and we'll put it up there. On there, you also find information on public star parties, like this one at the War Trace, 7 to 10 p.m. Saturday, right? Is that correct? Yeah.
No, that's supposed to be changed, 8 to 10.
8 to 10. All right, see, good there. And so that's out at the War Trace Tennessee, and there'll be more on that here shortly. If you're interested in us sharing it, include your Instagram handle so we can tag you, and you can email us at info@bsasnashville.com, or just post it to our Google groups if you have access to the Google groups. If you don't, we'll talk about that later. Also, if you're at the War Trace, again, it's a good dark sky. It's a little bit south from here, and so it would probably be a good place to try and snag some of these Messier objects that we talked about last month. On the Google groups, if you are interested in joining the club, we have access to this private discussion board that we have. This is how members can communicate with each other, talk to each other, share photos, ask about telescopes and things like that. On here, I usually highlight a few things. Here's Steve's post about the Star Party on the 19th at War Trace. In there, you can find information, where it's at, when it will be, timing, and things like that. Usually with these public star parties, there's a number of telescopes coming up. And so for something like this, where War Trace is a little bit more of a drive, if you're interested in going, let us know so we can make sure that we have enough scopes out there for the public. Pretty excited to get out there. Was it last month we tried? Yeah.
Got clouded out.
Yeah, last month we got clouded out. So hopefully, fingers crossed this time around. Yeah,
It's not.
from that dark sky thing, right? Yeah. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. If we need to reschedule, we'll put it down. If you're interested to get to War Trace, this is where we're at now, and then this is where it is. So it's about an hour and a half, depending on the drive. When you leave Nashville or the area. If you live closer to Franklin, it's gonna be a little bit closer for you. So, but that's where it is. If you don't mind driving, I'm sure it'll be a good event. All right. Also on here, we had a post of the awesome moon bow. Let's see, I think I have a bigger picture here. Up at, is it Cumberland State Park, Cumberland Falls State Park? There's a fairly famous moon bow that shows up when the conditions are right. And so this is taken at night. And so you can see it's the lighting up from the moon. So it's the same kind of physics behind the, sunny rainbow, but here you got the moon. And in that discussion here, they've also included this, which I thought was pretty cool, because I feel like it's a good idea. Like if this is your draw as a park, put out these dates so people know that like they can come up. And so he took it here right at 10 p.m. I think he said it was here at 10 p.m. And so that was when he snapped that picture. So if you're interested in catching something like that. Does anybody know how far Cumberland Falls is from here? Oh, I know it's not too far.
It's up near northeast Tennessee.
Yeah, it's a little bit north, I thought.
Miles, maybe.
Yeah. 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 So, but it's pretty cool to see. I think Theo's talked about this in the past and posted pictures of it as well. So it was something that I definitely kind of want to take a look at. Also on here, Danny Baggett posted something from his son's YouTube, and on there is a video of the eclipse from last year. It's a pretty cool video if you wanted to relive that day. It's pretty cool. This was just a screenshot that I grabbed from there, but the link for the video is in here. And then also on the Google groups, Steve usually posts pop-up star parties. Some of these are places where we're just like, hey, it's nice outside and we have access to a site. A lot of these are towards the Franklin area. And so the sky isn't too bad out there. Get away from Nashville a little bit. But he'll post about those frequently. And then finally, on here is a good place for people to share images. So if you like sky candy, there's a whole bunch of really cool pictures that our members are putting out. Keith with the Cigar Galaxy and Bode's Galaxy. Bobby posted here. Brad posted here. Steve with the man, my brain is just shutting down. Sombrero Galaxy. There we go. This is the Fiddlehead, which I didn't even know was there. So that's a pretty awesome picture there. So, if you like these kind of images, hop on Google groups and people are sharing them. Just kind of show what's out there in the sky. So, a lot of cool stuff. These are some of the events posted through the groups. So, if you're interested in some of these, definitely make sure you have access to it. Pop-up star parties run by Steve. War Trace Star Party, also put together by Steve. Randy Oakes has posted a couple star parties out at Henry Horton and Cedars of Lebanon. Henry Horton, April 19th and the 26th. April 19th, again, is the time when but we also have the War Trace. So, you know, if you're interested, choose one. And then Cedars of Lebanon, April 18th and 26th. So the 18th is Friday. Today's the 16th. Yeah, so that'd be Friday. So if you're interested in getting out there, contact Randy Oakes on the Google groups. And then also the Friends of Shelby Bottoms has asked us if we would bring some telescopes out for them out at Shelby. The date and the information's in the groups. So it's kind of like a private event kind of thing. So we don't want to spam the event so everybody shows up there. But if you're interested in that, the information's on the groups. We run our membership through the Night Sky Network. This is where you can find us. And again, if you're interested in becoming a member, we ask make a account with Night Sky Network. There's a lot of really cool things on here. Again, once I started kind of becoming more and more familiar with this site, I always find more utilities out of it. And so I've been posting some of the cool things that we have on here. This is just our club splash page. You can find upcoming events. So we have member meetings, public star parties, private star parties will also be posted on here as well. If we can make sure that they stay private. But you find out what's going on with the club. There's also a link to the calendar on the BSAS website. This is the hot link for the Night Sky Network. It should take you to our splash page. And if you're interested, there's a join club button, right? So we got that going for us. On here, there's a whole bunch of really cool information if you like looking at astronomy. Every month they have a new kind of article to kind of highlight something. Last month, it was the Messier Marathon, I believe. This month, the article is "What Does NASA Science Do for Me?" which feels important to kind of point these things out, the research and stuff like that. And so I always just kind of click in and see what I can find. And in the article, they're talking about all the cool things that NASA research has kind of led to. So to date, over 2,000 spin-off technologies have been documented by the NASA spin-off program. And so what they're doing is research on certain things for their missions, and then people will patent that technology and kind of run with it. And, you know, from that, solar cells, water purification, memory foam, firefighting equipment, safety grooves for driving, which was pretty cool to see. I'm always looking down here, image stabilization for binoculars and video cameras. So that voodoo that is, the importance of the dust buster and healthy baby food, right? So all these things were kind of NASA technologies that they that kind of got put in the fold. And then at the last part of this, they mentioned this. There are a few technologies commonly thought to have been created. However, they were independently developed, like Tang. I was always told that Tang was made by NASA. Apparently, it was made famous by NASA because the powder transports well. Also, the microwave, often said made by NASA. But World War II radar technicians discovered wasn't such a good idea to stand in front of active equipment. So that's also important. There was a story that I'd heard when they were trying to discover pulsars, and they were doing this research out at Green Bank, and I think it was Green Bank. It was a gentleman telling the story out of Green Bank, but a paper got published for these weird pulsars, and every day at a certain time, this pulse would come through, and it turned out it was the people a floor down, and they're doing what my wife does with the microwave. When there's 2 seconds left, they just open the door. And so it would shoot out a little bit of waves. And so their stuff was so sensitive that they were picking up these waves. So cool, fun things. They found out because they melted a candy bar, which is probably better than zapping yourself. So cool, fun things. I always like to I get lost in some of these things. Like I just go down these wormholes. At the last sentence on here is they mention that there's a website that keeps track of these spin-off technologies, and they put out a yearly catalog of these technologies, kind of saying this is what these are. And so this is from the 2025 cover. And so I went to the website, and so there's actually a website, spinoff.nasa.gov, where they're talking about all these technologies that have kind of kind of run through. And so two of them that I was looking at, NASA data helps beavers build back streams, and so they're using a lot of satellite data. And then here they're looking at or growing mushrooms on Mars and using the mycorrhizae from the ground to build bricks out of. And so they're building houses now with these. And they in that article they also have like a stool that they made out of this or out of the ground. And so they can turn this stuff into bricks. And so kind of cool how they're doing that. But as always, I dig into these websites a little bit more. If you're interested to see Tennessee's input into this with Vanderbilt and then Oak Ridge down the road, there's a whole bunch of things in here. Car seat safeties, things like that, robots, CO2 sensors, software tools, all sorts of things like that from Tennessee itself. As I mentioned, we have, oh, there we go. There's an archive here. And so here's this year's 2025. And just with this screenshot, see all the way back to 2016. And I like the history. And so I went, how far back are we? Well, we can get to 1976. And I was intrigued. And so I clicked through. This is the cover, spin-off 1976. In there is the upcoming shuttle to be put into service in 1980. And so at the front end of this magazine, like this is all in PDF, so you can browse this. But at the front end of this, they're essentially talking about the current technology and things that they're doing. So we have this, there's talking about the rovers that they're potentially thinking of building, and you're like, oh, it's like the before picture. Oh, it's so cute, right? This is like would have been a full payout or full page layout. So the other half of the shuttle was here, and it looked just like the shuttle, oddly enough. So, but that was pretty cool. So this is 4 years before it was predicted to go into service. In here, they're also talking about the technology that they're starting to use. Sick babies were among a test group of 100 patients whose cardiac functions were determined by ultrasound instead of x-rays. And so if you don't know, x-rays can mess with DNA pretty bad. And so this was them using this technology for the first time with ultrasounds to detect, any abnormalities with the kid. I'm a biology person, so I'm interested in this health stuff. Also in this article is this. If anybody has kids, it's weird these days. The first time when I took my daughter tiny thing to the pediatrician, a lady came in and then just walked right back out, and they gave us this status on her eyes. And I'm like, what the heck? And they go, well, we recommend, coming back and checking because we want to make sure it comes in. And what they did is they waved this in front of my daughter's head, and it took 5 seconds. And all it does is measure all these things. You can get prescriptions off of these things. And so this is the technology now. This was what they were testing in 1976. State-of-the-art technology, right? So it's kind of cool to see how these advanced over time. I mean, 30 years, 40, 50 years, almost 50 years now. Pretty crazy. Also, this was the state-of-the-art technology they were testing at NASA to determine wind tunnel and how well that wind is going to go over this. Aerodynamicness, simple deflectors, and other changes save 5% of fuel, up to 20% in track. So I don't know. I've often see those pictures of talking about a Jeep is less aerodynamic than a cow, and it always comes up with these square body kind of things like that. So that's technology for you, right? Also in here was the technology for the temper foam, which this was their initial test on it. And so baseball dropping, bounces high. This was their temper foam, where it just absorbed this into the cushion, and so you got less recoil, and so it was a little bit more stabilizing, and it was able to absorb more force. And so they started putting this on wheelchairs, on car seats, and things like that. And they also put this in the Dallas Cowboys football helmets, and so it changed that technology. This is back in 1976 where they first started testing this, and can't imagine what it was like beforehand. I know that they had the leather helmets, then they went to some other kind of foam, but so this was the start of all this foam kind of coming through. So a lot of cool history in that. Some of the other things on the Night Sky Network, they also have Night Sky Notes that come in and talk about things that are going on in the night sky. Currently, there's the James Webb Telescope. All right, come back. Currently, the James Webb Telescope is out there just making amazing pictures. To give you an idea, this was technology in 2004, 2005, and this is where we're at now. Both of these are in the infrared ranges, so kind of showing what that data is out there that we can always get better at. This is a look at, so the left image is from Spitzer, and it's the same one from the previous one. Spitzer was retired, was it 2020? And so it's no longer in, but it was around for about 20 years. And here's Webb of the same image. So we're getting a lot of really cool data from this. And the goal of the article was talking about the seeing light in different wavelengths. And so these are infrared images, but we have scopes all over the place that are looking all around these different wavelengths, all the way up to radio and down to gamma. And so what we think are all really pretty kind of sit in here. But a lot of these images that we see that are big, beautiful kind of portraits that really key the eyes usually take data from a couple of these sources. However, the James Webb really does a good job of putting things together. On the left is Hubble, which is all visible for the most part. Over here is the Webb, which definitely a little bit cleaner. I like this. This is from 5 sets of data. So radio wave, infrared, optical, it's the blue one, I can't tell, but then X-ray down through there. So you can see, all these different light patterns that, we typically can't see with just our optical, right? So compare that to what I can get out of my Nikon and my 600 millimeter lens. That's it right there. Not super fantastic, but yeah, obviously there's a little bit more color in here than what I can get out of mine. Also on the Night Sky Network, they have a whole bunch of resources. So if you're planning on going out to look for yourself or to go to a star party and looking for cool things to catch on to, like talk about like, oh, there's this star up here right now. A lot of that information you can find in here. Gives you something to talk about with the fans and the folks that come out and want to see stuff through the scopes. In here, there's outreach resources, a planner that kind of shows what's going on with the moon and stuff like that. And we'll talk about those just real quick. We have another comet that's up in the morning sky. I've seen pictures already start coming around. I don't get up too early unless my kids get me up early, and with that, I don't have really good horizons anyway. So if I'm wanting to look at it, I have to make a trip now. I haven't looked at the trajectories yet to see when it comes more accessible to people that like the night versus the day. Also in the sky this month, Mars and Jupiter are hanging out. Jupiter is moving towards the west, and Mars is pretty up towards the zenith from where I'm usually looking at. This is where we're at. They also have the current moon, so we can see that the moon's pretty bright right now, working its way towards a new moon here in a couple days or next week, I guess. Usually the moon doesn't do too well for dark or deep sky imaging and stuff, but take a look at the moon. It's there and it's bright, so you don't need to have super amount of light catching capabilities to start getting familiar with the moon. This is also part of their night sky planner. They have a clear sky chart, which tells you how much cloud cover to expect. They have sky maps to tell you what's in the sky and the spot the station. The clear sky chart, this was at I think 6 o'clock today, like as I was finishing up this presentation. You can see the cloud cover kind of coming across. We have this big swath here. So the darker, the better, right? The darker is going to give you better skies. So with the weather patterns, this thing changes all the time. And so notice we have a specific date. I was messing around on here and you can click on these dots, and I actually clicked right there and it pulled up our darkest sky site. And so somebody tagged it with BSAS, commonly uses this area. So it was pretty cool to see that. And, you'd get the bars and stuff. And so it would tell you what it's like out there. Also, they give sky maps. And so I updated this to this month's. Last month, I had it as like 1990 or something like that. But this is what's going on in the sky this month. So there's a whole bunch of notable things. Here you can see the different constellations and gives you an idea of where to look. If you've never used a planisphere, there's directions on how to use this on the websites. But you can see that there's a whole host of things in the sky on the back of these sky maps. And so you can print these out. They have a whole bunch of really cool things. They have objects that you can see with the naked eye, depending on where you're looking at. Nashville proper might be tough with these, but they also have things seen with binoculars and then cool things to see with telescope objects. So if you're interested in, month to month kind of changes of the sky, these highlight some of these really cool things. And then the spot the station, I'm always putting this up here now that I know it's there, because I'm like, share the knowledge, because they used to send text messages and you had to re-up text messages once a year or re-up emails once a year. And I hadn't gotten email in like 4 years. And then I found this, and there's actually an app. And so I'll show the app in a second. But this time around, I actually clicked on the map to see what was going on. And I found some cool things. So this is Nashville. And so for each of these towns here, you can get the forecast for ISS passes. And so I clicked on Nashville and came up with these. And so here you see a whole bunch of early morning passes coming up. So if you're an early riser or a late sleeper, I guess, if you go to sleep late and stay up until the wee hours of the morning, there's a couple of really good passes, 75 degrees above. That's going to get pretty high in the sky. Some of these are really long, but they're kind of close to the horizon. But it's pretty cool because you can see, you can get an idea of when to go out and look. For a while there, we had a number of nighttime passes, so it was really cool to see those go through. With that app, come on, go. Oh, yeah, second. I got this. There we go. With the app, this is what it looks like. You see, I took this at 6:23 right before I hit save and ran this way. This tells you where it's at the point in time, tells you the cycle that it's on, tells you when the next decent sighting is, tells you how many days and whatnot towards it. If you click on this button here, you can set up notifications. So it just buzzes your phone. You don't have to worry about text message. You can set up when you want alerts, right? So nighttime, greater than 15 degrees height, 2 minutes and longer. Like if I'm going to get up, better be in the sky longer than 2 minutes kind of thing. And then it shows you what you can alert for. So you can set it up. And it's pretty cool. I've had it alert me a few times now. So just some cool, fun technologies. All right. As far as last time I saw you guys was March 21st, I believe, something like that. Can't remember when it was. We've had a few things going on. We had a private star party planned, Messier Marathon planned that same night. We had a public star party planned, and we caught rain. So those didn't happen. Come on. There we go. Those didn't happen, but the Outdoor Rec Fest did. Theo.
So we looked a lot at the sun.
Yeah, I bet. Sunspot's pretty good.
Okay. course, the usual jokes about, you're looking at what?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a yearly thing, and it's usually a pretty good event. There's a whole bunch of other vendors out there and stuff too. If you can make it next year, it's pretty cool. Upcoming things, before we get to the war trace thing, because this happens earlier in the day. On Saturday, April 19th is Earth Day. So it's a celebration and centennial. I put the website here if you're interested, NashvilleEarthDay.org. It looks like they have a whole host of things set up for there. They're going to give away free trees and things like that. So I think it runs until 5, but there's a lot of information on the website. The vendors that's going to be there, food trucks are going to be there and stuff like that. If you like to get outside, I may drag the kids out there, make them run around, get a tree or two. But that's there. When you're done with that, the weather's nice. Hop in the car, go down to War Trace, and help with setting up that public star party and running through there. If you're interested, Steve's up here. He has more information about that, and it's on Google Groups as well. So if you want more information, grab that. We have a private star party set up 435-3 on the Natchez Trace. It's not a bad site. It's over by the Double Arch Bridge, so not too far away. If you do plan on coming out, we do have access all night. And so the sun sets at 7:30 that night, and you can pretty much stay out there the whole entire time. But make sure if you do want to stay out, have a permit, or else the sheriffs and the park rangers will run you off. But I was out there until I think it was 4 o'clock the other morning doing my own little Messier marathon when I had Sky, and they didn't have any problems. So it was pretty cool to be out there. And
Question,
then,
Tom?
yeah,
Question?
yep.
May 3rd is a Saturday, so is it May 2nd or May 3rd?
Probably the Saturday. I just probably didn't change that. Is that correct,
Okay.
Theo? Yeah, yeah, it's May 3rd. That date is correct.
Thank you.
Change it from Friday. So on Saturday, May 3rd, public star party at Warner Park, at the model airplane field. They're really good hosts out there for us. Sunsets at 7:30. Things start around 8:30. So if you don't want to be setting up in the dark, you may want to get there closer to the 7:30 time to get your stuff set up. All right, so that's what's going on. And then literally as I was leaving work today, this popped up. New York Times, astronomers detect a possible signature of life on a distant planet. I usually just kind of discount these things. The author, though, Carl Zimmer, he's fairly trustworthy. Like he's got a lot of really good science coming out. And so he put this article together in there. Repeated analysis of this atmosphere suggests an abundance of molecules out on Earth. It's only one known source, marine algae. Kind of cool. The guy essentially is saying, let the data come out, but this is what we found. And he's not claiming life, but he said that best explanation for this observation that this planet covered with a warm ocean brimming with life. Like, how cool would that be? There's a link here, and it didn't go to the paper because I was gonna pull it up and take a look at it. But it's hosted on this Astrophysical Journal letters, and it's open access. So I'll be kind of looking at that and probably following how that goes. I'm sure Theo will be playing whack-a-mole with everybody going, "There's aliens" on Facebook. So we got that to look forward to. But it's exciting, right? Like as far as we know, we're the only ones. But all right. Before Theo steps in, our next member meeting, May 21st, 2025. Hopefully have that right. It'll be here at 7 p.m. We'll also be on Zoom and YouTube as long as I remember to hit that button. With that, anybody have any questions in regards to the club's business and going ons? Anybody have any? Steve, you got anything today? All right. Well, good deal. Well, I'm gonna end my part. Theo's gonna come up and plug in her USB key. Perfect, and we'll get her running. So give us just a second.
Technology is always more fun.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Well, he's doing that. Heavensabove.com if you want to be less ISS centric, because they list also the Chinese space station passes, some of the bigger communication satellites, and you can go crazy on Starlinks, but
Yeah.
and then there's a Polish site that I can't remember the name of, but it's anyway, where they'll cheerfully tell you when the next time the ISS will do fun things like cross the moon, cross the sun.
In Polish or in?
No, it is in English. It would be more fun if it was in Polish, but
Depends on how well you can read.
there we go.
All right, so let's see.
Good. If I don't have my notes, I run over. That's all I do.
Can everybody on Zoom see the blue screen?
Yes,
All right, perfect.
yes.
All right. You want to use this laser pointer as the top one, then advance.
Okay.
Yeah, have at it. Don't blind anybody. So I tell my students.
All right. All right. Well, sorry about not being here last month. Tom stepped in, which was really nice. I've just had a crazy, crazy little while. I've been to Pennsylvania and back twice, and it's just all kind of fun. But anyway, so tonight I'm talking about basically all the rocks of different sizes that sometimes come our way. All right. Let go. Okay, which one of the buttons makes it click? I do know. Really? This is a touch screen, Tom? There we go. All right, little animation here. Okay, I know everybody wants to be an astrophotographer, right? We all like to take those cool deep sky pictures, but really for most of us, 90% or better of our total observing time is we walk outside and we do this, right? And if you don't do that, you should, right? That's just one of the defining characteristics of being interested in astronomy is you walk outside and look up. And sometimes you're lucky and you get rewarded by seeing a shooting star, right? Or meteor. This happens to be a bright Perseid meteor that's blazing across the sky for just a few seconds. On any clear night, you don't have to wait for a meteor shower, you can see random meteors. This actually was a Perseid, I think, at Pickett, and that lovely glowy effect is because we get dew on lenses in Tennessee. So that's kind of fun. But they're just rocks that are the size of a grain of sand coming in. People will swear it's right over their heads. It's not. We're going to look at that a little bit later. Now, of course, occasionally bigger things come in. That was a rather large rock. The estimated size of this rock before it blew itself to bits was about 150 feet. So that's kind of the range. We get some bigger rocks, we get some tiny little dust grains come in. When we took the tour here, the funniest, it's always fun to do public things, right? We had silly things happen in the planetarium. This guy said the funniest comment he got on that was a lady said, well, thank goodness it missed the interstate. It is impressive to see, and it's especially cool if you've looked at a lot of Mars pictures, because driving on Mars, what does a crater look like when you're coming up to it? It looks like the raised rim in the distance. And so this, because of where it is, you're driving toward it for a long time. And I was poking my kids. Do you see the crater? Do you see the crater? No, I don't see any crater. Well, it's that raised rim right in the distance. It's actually very cool to look at. So meteor showers have gotten really popular for the weather people to talk about. Some days I wish they wouldn't, because they almost always quote the standard, whatever it is, meteors per hour. And honestly, here you want to talk about how many minutes between meteors, because we're never going to see the perfect rate. We don't have the dark sky. And even if we had a dark sky, we don't have the unhumid sky, except maybe for the Geminids in December. But those tiny bits of sand begin here with comets. Comets come through the solar system, and when they get close to the sun, that big tail is tons of gas and dust coming off. If that expanding cloud of gas and dust, if it comes in and sort of gets in the area of our orbit, then every year we pass through the cloud that the comet leaves behind. So those can reach millions of miles in length. So it's actually, we've got quite a few comet tails that we end up going through every single year, which is really fun. So we actually know the provenance of some of these because we can match where that stream of debris is with the orbit of the comet. So that's also kind of fun. So there's just a few of them there. Some are good, some are kind of sparse. And not listed here is the origin of the December Geminid shower, which today looks more like an asteroid. Looks like it's lost all of its gas and dust. So let's see if this animates. I might have to beep it again to make it go. See if it'll go for me. There we go. The moving dot. That's Phaethon. It now just looks like an asteroid. It doesn't look like it has any more gas and dust left. So yeah, why don't we see lots and lots of meteors on a good shower? This is our challenge. And yeah, Tennessee, we use too much light. That's a whole nother talk. If you use too much light at your house, please stop. Especially next month, because in May, billions of birds will be making their way overhead through the Mississippi Flyway. They migrate at night, and they are wanting to use the stars above for navigation. They get very confused by a lot of light underneath them. So we really encourage folks to turn off the lights to help the birds move on through during May and then again in September. They talk to each other too, it turns out, while they're doing that, which is kind of fun. We have no idea what they're saying. Oh, look at those bright lights of Nashville, man. You can see the honky tonks from here. But yeah, you can see where Pickett is. My house is marked. That nice blue, that's bottomlands along the Tennessee River. Land between the lakes isn't too bad. And that gray way over there on the side, that's the Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri, which is actually very nice. So what can we do at home, though, if we want to observe a meteor shower from home? Because we're not going to travel. A lot of them happen in the wee hours of the morning, so we'd kind of like to be able to go to bed easily. So what can we do? Not this. I had to keep this home magazine just because this was such a great egregious, yeah, I can't even say that word tonight. Egregious, thank you. Too much light, and and somehow they got the Milky Way pasted in there. Do not do. So turn off your outdoor lights. That would be the first thing. Maybe you can convince your neighbors to turn off some outdoor lights. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is to invite them over to your house to look at the sky and let them notice how annoying their lights are. Sometimes that works really well. Not all the time. And then turn off your indoor lights if they shine out to where you're going to be. So there's my garage door open and my kitchen lights on. That's a lot of light. If I just turn that stuff off, boom, it's a lot better. And you notice we replaced our garage opener light with a red light. Urgh. Red lights, they don't bother your eyeballs so much, so we like to use those. And stay out for a while. It takes about 20 minutes for your eyes to become well dark adapted. That's actually a chemical change that goes on in the back of your eye. So the longer you stay out, the more you can see. And again, astronomers use red light if they need light because it doesn't undo your dark adaptation so much. I got a nice comfy zero gravity chair here. So that works well for meteor showers. And keep the light out of your eyes. That means, all right, don't check your email. Don't look at your apps. If you have an app that's got a red screen option, that would be better. You can also go old school and use paper star charts with a red flashlight. I like them because they don't run out of batteries. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So take a lawn chair, go out and have a hot or cold drink, depending on the season, and have fun watching the skies. You never know when this could happen. Okay. This was the Great Leonid Storm of 1833. And if you've ever seen the Alabama license plate that says stars fell on, that's what they're talking about. It literally looked like the sky was falling. I would really like to see one like that. That's not generally what happens. Most meteors are burning up 50 to 75 miles high. I've had lots of people insist that no, it went right over the next tree, probably came down in the next yard. No. Unless you hear a boom, it's way the heck up there. Sometimes you do get to hear a boom when they're bigger than a sand grain. To make it all the way to the ground, it has to be at least the size of a marble. And so, let's see if this animates. There we go. So if you have a decent sized rock coming in, it'll start lighting up. This is in proper units here, so 80 kilometers high. Gets a little lower. And boom, loses it. And bits fall on the ground. I think 3 times now, we've seen a rock that was big enough that we found it with a telescope, because little stuff we're never going to see. We saw it. We realized it was going to hit, so an alert went out. People saw it as a very bright fireball. And then thirdly, they found the pieces on the ground. It helps a lot when they fall places like the desert, because then you can notice rocks sitting on the ground. If rocks fall around here, yeah, we're not going to see them. If you see a really bright one, you can report it. This is, I call this the other AMS, because usually we're thinking about the meteorological folks, but these are the Meteor Society folks, and they take reports, and it's kind of fun. If there's been a bright meteor, people will phone it in, and then you can see how many reports came from your exact area. And if we're getting questions about, hey, what was that we saw in the sky? This is a great first check, because I promise you people will call it in if it was a meteor. If it was just a drone being played with by your neighbor, that's not going to get called in. And here's a list of some of the more recent reports. So it's really interesting to see where, how many, and you can tell when they're really good, because then you'll get like 400 reports. That would have been a really good bright one that was seen over a long distance. Now, if you're really, really stupidly lucky, and somebody finally was, we've got cameras everywhere now. So we see things we never saw before. Maybe some of you have seen this. Let's see if I can make this go. Do I have to poke it? There it goes. This is just really cool. Bang! So then they're going to run it again. It does have a little bit of sound, and it's just a when it hits the ground. So they run it in slow motion again. Pow! Somebody's Ring camera. So when they came back from wherever they'd gone, I don't know if they saw the camera view first, but when they looked at the sidewalk, there was a splat. Huh. Well, that's weird. Looked at the video, picked up the rock, and it was not a big rock, but they called somebody and they said, bring it over. And the university said, yep, you got a rock from space. And that was there. Like I said, there is sound that goes with this online. So that was the first recording of a rock hitting the ground from space. That's pretty fun. That's, I've got a little camera on the front porch, and what it watches is the cat that comes up, the raccoons at night. That's what I don't, but no rocks yet.
Reports of anyone actually getting hit by a rock from space.
People have been hit, but not killed. In recorded history, we have no recording of anybody being killed by a rock from space, which is kind of fun. Some lady, I think in New Jersey, had one come through her ceiling, And it was going fast enough that it bounced around the room a couple times and hit her on the leg, and she had a nice bruise from a rock from space.
Wow.
Skydiver recently got through.
Really?
Yeah.
So it happens, right? There's actually a lot of rocks coming in. What if you have a little bit bigger piece, like say the size of a school bus? Yeah. That was pretty fun. Whee! And this got, at peak brightness, it was rivaling the sun. Everything, all those light poles had two shadows. Well, that's big. It exploded about 14 miles high into a lot of pieces, which you bet people went looking for them and they found them. This was kind of a small one. They actually recovered quite a few pounds of rocks. And one of the questions that we get is, are they hot when they fall? That is sitting on snow. You notice how the snow is not melted. Once it explodes, they just fall ballistically and they cool off. So by the time they hit the ground, no, they're not hot. It does have a nice crispy crust. It looks like it was fried, which it was.
Where was that?
This was in Siberia several years ago. Chelyabinsk. Do what? Nickel iron. Yeah, this one I think was a stony though. But we have had several fall. For some reason, Russia, well, it's a big country, right? So I have earrings made from the slice of an iron nickel meteorite because, of course, I do. So nobody got injured by the rocks from this again, but okay, you're working in your office building. It's got a nice glass-walled front. Some bright thing just happened. What do? You might go to the window. And when the shock wave hit, because remember, the light gets here first, 14 miles, it takes a little bit for the sound, in this case, a giant shock wave, to get there. Literally broke every window in the town. People were injured by the glass. So note to self, if a big light goes on outside, don't go to the window anyway. The nice thing about having assets in space is that we can watch things all over the planet. It took a while to pry this out of the Air Force because classified, but when they finally did, it was kind of fun because it really is a scatter shot. You know, we only see on the ground the ones that come over our house, our place, our land, but you know, the ocean takes a lot of hits too. So this was kind of fun that there's day and nighttime and then just the different size.
On the bottom, energy in parentheses.
Gigajoules.
Is what?
Gigajoules.
Gigajoule.
So it's a lot of energy. I mean, these things are coming in fast. They deposit all that energy in the atmosphere. So thank you. I guess that we would call them the Space Force these days. So how do you find your own personal meteorite if these things are just raining out of the sky? You can actually have a little bit of fun if you want. It takes patience. You can look at dust that gets entrained in rain and or snow. Some fraction of that will be the dusty, tiny micrometeorites that sift down through our atmosphere. 48 tons of dust from space comes in every day. It's not a lot, though. A lot of what we see in our rain is going to be soot. It's going to be from coal-fired power plants and things like that. But, you know, you can go through, you can take a first cut of, okay, what's magnetic and pull that stuff out. And then there are ways you can look under a microscope and things that have come in from space look a little different than just the iron slag that's dusting down. So that's one way you can look. And of course, you can always think maybe you found a rock. There is a great website with the Wash U at St. Louis, because they get asked a lot. They have a pretty good geology department. And so he's put together a whole list of things to look for. And the first thing he says is, if you think you found a meteorite, you probably didn't. So he doesn't mean to be discouraging. He's just looked at a lot of rocks. And it does take a little bit of, you know, looking at to decide what you have. He said the characteristic of most things that people tell him that rock wasn't on the driveway yesterday is that they fit in the palm of your hand as if somebody, you know. But nonetheless, I worked in the planetarium for 11 years. We had one time when somebody brought us something that we told them they should go get looked at. And of course, we never heard the rest of the story, but it had a great origin story. Guy was plowing his field, heard chink against the blade, went and got the rock, and it was heavier than a rock that size should be. And it, you know, it didn't have the kind of holes that just slag has. So we told him, go get it checked out. But it was easily the best, you know, one that people brought us that could have been a rock from space. And again, people go looking for rocks from space in the desert in Africa. They love to go to Antarctica because, again, it falls on top and then the glaciers cheerfully carry it down towards the ocean and literally deposit piles of meteorites. Now, occasionally, but thankfully very rarely, really big stuff hits. This is a lake up in Canada. It's really, really round. So there are some that come in bigger than a school bus, but just not very often. Here's the scary picture where they put in all the near-Earth asteroids. And yeah, it looks like a giant yarn ball, but the scale is so bad because space is really mostly empty space. And even if you're in the meteor belt, you know, in between Mars and Jupiter, if you're standing on an asteroid, you don't see any other asteroids. It's not like Star Wars where you have to go ducking and dodging. It's mostly empty space. So it's not really as bad as it looks. But nonetheless, there are a few. This is my favorite. That's a really lousy picture of it because normally it's not really close to us. But April 13th, 2029, put that on your calendar, have a party the day before and the day after. That is a Friday the 13th. Asteroid Apophis will come within 20,000 miles of the Earth. That's a shave. That's a really close shave. So there will be end of the world parties, and it's reasonably big, okay? There's some size scaling. So for reference though, okay, 450 meters, that's big. But the dinosaur killer was estimated to be about 10,000 meters. So that's a whole nother scale. This would just be, you know, a hole somewhere. Not end of the world. But right now, we try to keep track as we find them. Where are they going? Especially the ones that pretty much orbit in the same place we do. Nobody that we know of is hitting in the next 100 years. Now, of course, tomorrow you might find a new one. And earlier this year, they found one that wasn't nearly this big, but it had a non-zero chance of impacting the Earth. And it took a long time, actually. Usually within a few observations, they go, no, it's going to miss. But this one kept having a persistent, like 4% probability for about a month until finally they got enough data on it to say, no, it's going to miss, but has a 4% chance of hitting the moon. That could be fun. But Apophis pretty closely shares our orbit. And what really makes it fun is when it comes really close to us, it gets a new orbit. Everything, these little rocks, everything pushes them around. As they rotate, even the sunlight, warming one side more than the other, changes their orbit. So you can't predict them out to infinity. About 100 years is about as good as it gets. And after that, there are too many possible errors building up. But it's pretty cool that this guy, and there's a number of them like this. I'll tell you what, though, it's not going to be an asteroid. It's going to be a comet. You want to worry about something, and I don't recommend these days. We have enough things, on our plate. Don't worry about comets either. But comets come in. We don't know when they're coming. They're all of them bigger than these guys, and they're coming in with some speed. So they have a lot of kinetic energy. If you were going to worry, you'd worry about a comet. And we'll have max 2 years notice. So that's exciting. One of my favorite, 67P, the comet that the Rosetta spacecraft went to visit. It looks like a rubber ducky. none of them are round either. It has a rather short-term orbit, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, something like that. And it has that orbit because after it came in from deep space a long time ago, it went by Jupiter. Jupiter changes a lot of people's orbits. But Jupiter put it into the inner solar system. The rule is if you encounter a gravitational body and it changes your orbit, you will encounter it again. That's how that works. So it's going to see Jupiter again and get yet another orbit. And the fun thing, it got its last orbit the year I was born. So I kind of feel happy about that comet. But it is one that we watch because it's near enough to our orbit that that could be an issue, but not anytime soon. So we're still not worried. Now, even though I do own a few telescopes, please do not look in my garage. Still, honestly, we go for a walk every night. So most of my observing is walking outside and looking up. It's fun to watch the planets as they go by. And of course, it is fun to see the occasional meteor. People have been looking at the sky since before recorded history. So now that the rain has stopped, at least for a little while, I mean, there for a while, we weren't getting any looks up. But go outside, look up. Who knows, you might see a bright shooting star. You might even catch a bolide, and maybe if you're really lucky, it'll be big enough to make a sonic boom, which is always very cool. And we do this even with our spacecraft. It's really just another way of looking up. And every time we look at something that we haven't looked at before, the really cool thing is we get surprised. I'm looking forward to, we have a mission going for the first time to a metal asteroid, Psyche. And you're going to hear it described as the blah, blah, blah $1 trillion piece of rock because it's full of heavy metals, we think. But we don't know what it really looks like. We strongly think that their origin story is that as planetesimals accreted, some of them smashed together. And some of them had already differentiated. They had an iron core, they had a little rocky crust. And so we think the iron guys are pieces of cores. So it'd be fun to see what that actually looks like. But I guarantee you we're going to be surprised because we've never done it before. And when we look up, even with really big telescopes, this hit the news today. This is nuts. There's 2 brown dwarfs that orbit each other rather close. And there's a planet that orbits the 2 of them, but perpendicular. Well, that'll keep the theoretical guys busy for a while. So that's a lot of fun. So the only way we know there's a planet there is that it tugs on those other 2 guys. So it's moving their orbits ever so slightly. That's how we would find Jupiter if we were somewhere else. We would see it making the sun do a little wiggle dance. So that's kind of fun and cool. Lots of fun things surprise us. And then, of course, if we're going to go out and look up, Dark Sky International, that's where you can go to get cool information about how to light properly, how to light improperly, and don't do that, and how we can all play a part in making the night sky darker so that we can go out and enjoy it. All right. Any fun questions tonight? Brr.
Well, when I talked to you earlier today,
Oh,
would you tell us what you know about Swan?
so Tom mentioned Comet Swan. It's a new comet. 2025. When you see a comet name, they tell you when it was discovered. So it's C/2025. So it's a brand new comet coming in, and it has, I don't know why we get so lucky. It's in the early morning sky right now. So I know my neighbor thinks I'm weird. They actually, I'm going to have to leave a card in this guy's box. If you see me out here with a camera, this is what I'm doing. But I was outside at 5 a.m. It was just coming up over the trees, but at this point I'm racing the sunrise. And there's a really bright moon out behind me too. I couldn't see it with the camera, but that was with maybe a 2-second exposure. The camera wasn't picking it up. I could pick out a lot of stars I could not see with my eyes. And if it had been a little bit darker, I think I could have seen it. I could have put the Andromeda Galaxy in the comet, or at least the comet's position, in the same frame, which would have been mildly cool. But It was already a little bit too bright. And I could not find it in the pictures. So definitely binocular. And I think a telescope would have been a good idea, but that would really torque the neighbors around. I actually thought there was nobody home at the house. I'm at the top of a cul-de-sac. So I walk out onto the cul-de-sac, and no sooner do I smack down the tripod than I hear a car turn on, and it's this guy right next to me. I'm like, oh, really? I guess he has to leave early for work. So he comes out, goes by me, sees me, goes down the street, I guess thinks about it, turns around and has to come back up by me and go round the cul-de-sac and goes back out. I have no idea what he thinks. But I'm gonna have to leave a little card in the box to say, hi, I'm your neighbor. I do these things. But I have had people, they never ask. That's what drives me crazy, right? They'll drive by me, they'll flip on their brights sometimes, like they want to illuminate me, like I'm, they just really don't know what I'm doing. But they just won't stop and ask. I need to take a signboard out, I guess, and say, this is what I'm doing out here at this ridiculous hour of the morning. But anyway, I couldn't see it, so I'm waiting for it. It'll go around the sun, and then, like Tom said, it'll pop out to a more reasonable hour of the night, on the evening side. And the hope is that it'll be a little bit brighter then. And there'll be a particular night, and I want to say it was either May 3rd or May 4th, where it will be right about 10 degrees, just a beam of a very young moon. I love that because then you have that guidepost. You can find the moon, and then you can take your binoculars and go over and probably find the comet. So that'll be a cool thing to look forward to in early May. No, because the galactic disk, I'm sure, has its own stuff going on, but most of what we see is debris that's inside the solar system. So it travels with us. We pull along our comets, even though they're halfway from here to Alpha Centauri, they orbit the galaxy with us. So all that stuff is our own personal dust cloud, as it were. It's always fun, to think that some of the dust you have to move off your furniture that came from space. Yes, because it left Earth, right? That was its point of taking off. It will come back. Yeah, there's a website. Where is the Tesla? Where's the Roadster? You can go look that up. It actually overshot Mars. I mean, they just burned all the fuel they had, see how far you can go. So it overshot Mars, and it's in orbit around the sun, but because it started here, it will come back. Most of the time, we won't be there, right? It'll come back to the point in Earth's orbit where it left, but we'll be somewhere else in that circle. But there will come a day when we'll come back to more or less the same place. So that'll be fun, because that surely gets its orbit changed. And who knows, it would be fun to see it again. Like after years and years in space, what does the paint job still look like? But
Katy Perry, astronomer
now. I was really ill that day when they launched that, and I have to say, laying on the couch, but that was watching the Earth being reflected in a car's paint job was just insane. I mean, that was definitely some science fiction going on. So that was fun.
I took my screenshot of the video behind overlooking the Earth.
Yeah.
I got like a picture of the Earth with the Roadster.
And it says, made on Earth by humans on the dashboard. So I don't think the battery is still playing. It had a whole song list it was running through, but I think the battery's probably gone. They didn't coat it with solar panels, so oh well.
Yeah, or maybe just a comment.
Okay.
Just in terms of these meteorites, when they actually reach the Earth and the impacts that they make. There's actually, in the display cabinets back here, there are some samples that reflect what happens when that occurs. There's some samples of meteorites, and these are mostly iron nickel. There are tektites, which are the rocks that they melt when they hit. And then there are these cool things called shatter cones.
Yeah.
Only produced either by meteorite impacts or by nuclear explosions. So they've got some back there. Pretty much.
That is a cool thing. And there's a spot because when we went for a planetarium conference in Alabama one time, there is an impact site where you can access some of the crater wall from the road. And so people go there to look for shatter cones. So that's kind of fun.
They're
Yeah.
Actually, the biggest meteorite that hit Tennessee is actually Wells Creek. which is
Okay.
Just about an hour and a little bit away from here, and you can find shatter cones there.
So,
That's where the one's from in the back of the.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
right.
so sometimes there are big ones that hit. It's just that luckily it's not frequently, which is good. Right.
I have a real quick question.
Yeah.
You showed that graph or that website where people can chart when they found like or when they've seen a meteor or something go across the sky.
Yep.
Do you notice like what's the best way to say this? Less populated areas report more, right?
Oh.
Like compared to the US, like with light pollution, things like that.
That's fun. That would be an interesting, that would be a fun study to do to see. Of course, the really bright stuff, the bolides, they'll show up anywhere. But it'd be interesting to know, are there more people out at night in rural areas? Are there, yeah, there could be a lot of interesting different things that go into what gets seen and what doesn't. And of course, nowadays, some of the observations are from cameras, security cameras, ring cameras. They pick up those little streaks. My son has insanely good luck. He'll get out of the car, look up, oh. And one time I'm talking to him and I see the reflection in his glasses. So, but yeah, it is very cool. And you know, one of the other interesting things that amateurs did was they started looking at the moon, and amateurs, as cameras got better, said, hey, NASA, we see these bright flashes of light, especially during meteor showers. We think we're seeing things hitting the moon. Oh, no. So that got poo-pooed until video cameras got better. And then they go, look at this. And yeah, because for a long time, it's been one of the things that's a constant through the history of science. We look around and we just assume that things have always been the way they are. And then, oh, well, okay, maybe this was different and has changed. But we're constantly breaking that. So for a long time, scientists go, well, you know, there was a lot of junk around at the beginning, but it's all been cleaned up now. And turns out not. And so that's been one of our paradigm breakers to realize that one thing, Jupiter keeps replenishing the supply of inner solar system stuff, which is pretty fun, because otherwise it would have been all cleaned up. And that amateurs can play a pretty fun role in looking at stuff like that, or in seeing comets hit Jupiter. You know, so there's all kind of fun. If you're interested in rocks in space, there's actually a lot of ways you can do citizen science on that. So
Yeah, they put up all sky cameras that and have little domes on them.
Yeah.
People just record overnight and look for these events coming around. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, there are ways to play
Yeah.
around.
Also along these notes, a couple months ago, I had a whole bunch of people like, hey, what about this asteroid that's gonna hit the Earth in 2032?
yeah,
I think it was 2024 wire or something.
yeah.
It had like a 1% chance, which was really high, but now it's 0%. So
Yep.
calm down.
Yep. So now we're going to watch for it. Maybe it'll hit the moon. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
It'll come around in 2028 because it's got a really short period, and we'll get a better look at it, and probably a lot better orbit refinement. A couple of years ago, there was a comet came in, and we thought it was going to hit Mars. And there were two camps on that. One was, cool, we want to see what happens when a comet hits a rocky body. And the other one was like, no, 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 no. We have a lot of assets on Mars. We don't want any of that going on. It missed, but Mars went through the tail and we got to see what a meteor shower on Mars looks like. So it's kind of fun.
They got a lot of atmospheric data from it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Awesome. Well, thank
All right.
you, Theo.
Thank you.
All right, with that, anybody have any other comments or anything to bring up? Awesome. All right, well, thank you everybody for coming. We meet again in May 21st, maybe a third Wednesday, something, can't remember, but it's third Wednesday. So hopefully we'll see you around. Pay attention to the website. We'll have posts on upcoming star parties and things like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us info@bsasnashville.com and we can get back to you. All right. Have a great holiday break. Safe travels if you're traveling. See you guys.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. Is it the 21st? Is it the 21st?
I have brochures.
Hi, everybody online. I'm going to go ahead and shut us down. Have a good day. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.